Buzz Billman is a candidate for Prahran in the upcoming Victorian state by-election, the seat being held and recontested by the Greens. He joins us now. Really nice to have you here.
Yeah, thanks, mate. It's good to have you interviewing me.
Yeah, nice to chat. You've had a bit of a political background, which we'll get into in a sec. But other than that, what do you think, or what would you like voters to know about who you are and where you come from?
Yeah, okay. So I currently work as a train driver. I've got 26 years experience in the railways. I'm a member of two trade unions, the MEAA since 2020, because I'm also an actor, and the Rail, Tram and Bus Union. For 26 years, I have been representing my workmates as an elected representative to defend their work rights and their occupational health and safety. So that's the experience that I'm bringing to this campaign, my negotiating skills to get the things that Prahran needs.
And then in terms of your political background, it was an interesting one. I remember when you first announced your candidacy, ex-Labor member, not just ex-Greens member either. You've been a candidate for them. That's not something many people can say there. Talk to us about why you kind of have changed your political affiliation over the years, and then also specifically, really why you left the Greens.
Yeah, okay. So my political goes back to when I was a kid. My dad was a tram driver and he was a union delegate himself. And my first experience of politics and activism was when the tram strike in 1990, where they lined the trams up in the street to try and defend conductors from getting the sack. So I remember being on the picket lines when I was a kid. And then handing out how to vote cards in the Higgins electorate for Labor. And what happened was my high school closed down when I was in year 10, Murrumbina High School. It merged with Prahran High School and Caulfield to create Glenara College. At the time, that's when I got political. So I turned 16. I joined the Labor Party as soon as I could. But by the time that I turned 20 was around the time of the Tampa crisis. And I was pretty disappointed with what Labor's response was to that. So I left the Labor Party and was a couple of years later joined the Greens during the Iraq War. So then after a couple of years in the Greens, I decided to put my hand up to run as a candidate. And I ran as a candidate in 2006 for Oakleigh, Hotham Federal in 2007, Monash Council 2008, and Clayton in 2010. I then, around about 2011, decided to leave the Greens because I just felt that it was going in a different direction to me. I felt that the central hierarchy was taking over decisions of local branches, and I just didn't feel it was as democratic as it should be. And I then have been in the political wilderness for a while, and so when this election popped up, I thought this is my time to come out of hibernation.
Yeah, so there's a lot there. Obviously, it goes without saying this is a seat, the Greens are trying to hold. They're the center of attention here, as all candidates have been talking about, as you'd be well aware. I'm interested, why you then? Why not the Greens? Why should a voter in Prahran vote for you instead? What really sets you apart?
Because I will listen to people from all walks of life. I do come with my progressive values. That's on the table. But having grown up in an area, I grew up in Melbourne, so I grew up with working class roots. My mum was a child carer and my dad was a tram driver. So working class roots, but in an affluent area, I learnt to work with people from all walks of life. So I feel that as a community, it's quite diverse in Prahran. We have very wealthy people, very poor people. There's a big gap there. And I want to be able to bring the community together and work through the issues that we need to get in Prahran.
It's interesting you bring up your background as a train driver, and you've also said your dad was a tram driver, and it's actually a good segue because of the Greens public transport policy. They're wanting those 50-cent fares. It's kind of their flagship thing. We've asked some other candidates about it. I'm interested in your thoughts on it, particularly given your background.
Yeah, no worries. So I have worked on the policy group with the Greens, or maybe 20 odd years ago. So, I mean, a lot of these policies do have merit, but realistically, in a real world, 50-cent fares, the Melbourne system is not ready for it. I drive trains regionally, And when the cap came in, where you could travel anywhere for $11, the trains are packed. People can't get on. They've got overflows of buses. So we need more rolling stock. We need more of the infrastructure in place before we can actually get to 50-cent fares, because 50-cent fares going from Prahran to Port Fairy, like the Greens candidate said, realistically, anyone trying to get on a train to Warrnambool is going to get stuck.
So just on that, because public transport, in an inner city seat, it is, excuse me, I should say, a key thing. You mentioned infrastructure there. Is there anything else in your particular platform regarding public transport that you'd be working on as an independent member?
Yeah, well, there are things. So the Greens have held the seat of Prahran for 10 years, and they're still struggling to work with the government to get local things done, like an extra entrance at Windsor Station to make it more accessible, a northern upgrade of South Yarra Station. These policies that the Greens keep talking about, they're policies that they've brought up election after election. There's something happening where they can't work with the government to get these things in Prahran. And that's why I feel that we need to change to an independent that will work with the government, that the government can actually have a rapport with to get these things, finally.
Do you think it'd be more effective? Because, I mean, likewise with the Greens, you on the lower house crossbench, the government doesn't need your vote. They can bypass you on pretty much anything. And unlike the Greens, you don't have some kind of leverage in the upper house either. You're one single man in Parliament. How could you be more effective then?
I liken it to a guy that I don't really agree with much, but Bob Katter, right? Bob Katter, independent MP, gets what he wants for his local community. Pretty polarising figure, but he's out there and he is active and he is seen. And that's what we need in Prahran, someone who's actually going to be here promoting Prahran and standing up and not afraid to get on the camera. Unfortunately, I feel that the previous Greens MP, you really didn't see a much, promotion. People don't really know. People know him, but they can't put a face to him sometimes. So I think being the face of Prahran, that will help get the community together and also to campaign and raise these issues so we can push not in a savage way towards the government, but we just want to work with them. I think the Greens don't give the government credit when the government do things. And I'm happy to give the credit as long as we get what we want in Prahran.
Just finally, this has been, one of those weird campaigns where most of it has taken place over what is really summer holidays. People are getting back to work now and are coming back, but I can't imagine that would have helped with things. Apart from getting your own message out there and doing your own campaigning, how are you finding just letting people know that there is a by-election on that they need to vote in?
It's been very difficult. It's been very difficult as an independent. I'll be very realistic. It's very, very hard at such short notice to get a campaign up and going. I've actually already committed to running at the 2026 state election. So I'm going to continue campaigning even after this election. And yeah, people don't know. People are mixing it up with the federal election. They are really mixing it up. So all I'm saying is to people is Labor is not running a candidate. I feel that I'm the closest person to being a Labor candidate. My values sit between Labor and Greens. I'm a trade unionist, a proud union member of 2 unions. I think I'm the only candidate that is actually a union member. I stand to be corrected. We have another independent who's a former Labor MP, Tony Lupton, who is claiming old Labor values, and he is preferencing the Liberals. So if you want to vote for the Liberals, you can vote for Tony Lupton. If you want to vote for progressive candidates, I suggest you vote for me first, and my preference flows will go down. They'll eventually get to the Greens and then to the Liberals. But we need to keep the progressive focus in Prahran. Prahran is a progressive electorate.
I'm glad you raised that because I was just about to ask on your preferences, but you covered it there for me. Buzz Billman,
Really
appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Best of luck.
Thanks, Leo.